Spend any amount of time interacting with the Halo community, and it'll become easy to see the kind of grip that nostalgia for the glory days of the franchise has on its fans. And as someone who's kind of susceptible to that nostalgia, it's something I find myself getting lost in often. Get it? Okay, don't leave. And recently, thinking about it in this way, there aren't terribly many other franchises that have such deep nostalgia for the beginning of its franchise. And again, that's not to say other franchises don't carry nostalgia or have a bunch of people wishing it could return to some form of glory day, but Halo just seems in a class of its own with this. And I kind of want to talk about why that is. What in particular about Halo makes its nostalgia so powerful? I figured we'd go take a walk through these games and see what we can't find along the way. Okay, I'll never get over just how cool the Bungie main menus were. I'm already feeling pretty nostalgic. But let's see if we can't look around and find something to clue us in as to why people feel this way. And wait. Is that a bottle of Mountain Dew Code Red on the multiplayer button? Okay, so if you've seen any of my other Halo videos, I think you know about how Halo CE is foundational to my childhood because of how much I played it with my dad growing up. Playing Halo split screen on the couch was one of the most memorable ways we bonded when I was a kid. And with it being that he passed away when I was 10 years old, sitting down and playing Halo, even by myself these days, it kind of acts as an on-demand way to recall his memory, or at least my memory of him. It helps me feel close to him in some way that can be pretty hard to describe, regardless of how much I talk about it in these videos. And although my specific story is kind of tragic, a lot of people who care about Halo as a franchise have some variation of this concept. There was always somebody they played Halo with, whether it had been sitting next to them on the couch or around the world through Xbox Live. Anybody who seems to really care about Halo as a franchise has some connection to somebody through it. You can ask any gamer from that generation about whether or not they would have had a memory with a friend, whether it been online or in person, from games of that era. You get them talking about that long enough, and there's probably somebody they don't play with anymore that they used to, and you'll kind of get them in their feelings about it, or at the very minimum, nostalgic for those games and the feelings it gave them. I mean, for the most part, Halo's prominence throughout the early 2000s was very heavily a social experience, culminating in the Xbox Live explosion in 2007 with Halo 3. The way Halo had so many social concepts built into its multiplayer, it just became the perfect online, and again, or on the couch, breeding ground for bonding memories with friends. Epic game nights in custom games, watching clips back in the theater, whether it be of the campaign or the multiplayer. Forge, spending countless hours making new creations, or again, more mini games to play in the custom games. It all just fed back into each other as a good place to spend time with other people. And that social aspect of these games is also kind of the most commonly commented on thing that newer games seem to be missing. You'd be hard pressed to find a retrospective that doesn't talk about all the social aspects of Halo 3 in particular, due to how special they were at the time and the way it still feels rare today. And all of that heavy emotional nostalgia is why you'll see video retrospectives on topics like, I remember Halo. Why won't Halo die? Why do we hang on? Why hasn't Halo died yet? I think a core part of all of those questions and the reason we keep hanging on is due to those memories, specifically because of the social aspect, the way those memories are connected to other people in our lives. I think thinking about it in that way answers the question of, will Halo die, or will we keep hanging on? The answer is yes. As long as there's a generation of gamers with those core memories, I don't know if they could let the franchise die, because I feel like part of it would be an admission of letting those memories die, or at least the potential to continue those memories with new games. I don't think anyone wants to see that die. Okay, so we've got a strong start on where all this nostalgia might come from. Let's actually go land on the ring and see if we can't, I guess, find any more Mountain Dew bottles. Ah, yeah, you remember this place, don't you? And wait, is that another Mountain Dew bottle I see on that bridge? No. Oh, the clue is the bridge. You know, come to think of it, that's a funny looking bridge. Like, just looking at it, you wouldn't really call it a bridge other than we all walked on it because it was the only place for us to go to continue the level. Maybe it's not supposed to be a bridge in design, but just in function, and maybe it's part of the ring. I don't know. I've never really thought a lot about this bridge. Does anyone else try to get on the bottom one? Okay, sorry. But I feel like the art of creating stylized, distinct level design or mission or just game aesthetics is kind of overlooked now in gaming, at least in the AAA gaming space. Man, AI is going to make this a lot worse. I didn't really think about that. That kind of sucks. But I mean, just look at these environments. They got to make you feel something. I mean, it could be anything. Maybe confusion if you haven't played the game before. But just looking at these environments, I feel like you can almost be taken back to when you played these games. Maybe the feelings you felt while playing them, being in these spaces. And I don't think just Halo is able to do this, but I think Halos are the only ones where you could look at like a still single picture and know exactly what game and what franchise and what mission it is because of how different and stylized they all are. I feel like when you're trying to ask somebody about a game that they played a long time ago, I think kind of the first thing they might think of a game they haven't played in a long time would be what it looked like, because they're trying to imagine the environments. And that's where games like Halo can really invoke these strong levels of nostalgia, because you're gonna always remember what they looked like. They didn't look like anything else on the market. They still don't in some ways. You show somebody this image and they're gonna bitch about that mission and how much they hated it. Or how maybe the flood scared them or something like that. And that just goes to show, I think, the way in which the environments of a game can become layered in with a game's nostalgia and the way we think about them well after we've played them. I think it's a big part as to why the Halo games have such a unique following of nostalgia. So to continue, we're now in another main menu. This time it's Halo Combat Evolved, and we're gonna again kind of look around and see if we can't come up with any sort of clues of, hey, remember these things? Oh, it's the next clue actually. That's kind of neat. I feel like the intense feeling of nostalgia that people have for the Halo games comes from the fact that they're old now. I know, shocker, whoa. But okay, let me explain kind of what I mean by that. That was more a joke than anything. But Halo itself as a creation, in its art style that I talked about before, in its execution, in its marketing, every single thing about Halo, I don't think could have ever existed not in the early 2000s. Everything from its unique take on sci-fi to the music to the color palette, all of it is just so specifically unique to that time period and like where sci-fi was as a genre at the time. The super soldier aspect, like all of that just kind of is all a sign of the times that they came out in. And for everyone in the age bracket to be watching my videos, that was right when they were, you know, either young kids into preteens or mid to late teens, which is a time that all adults get nostalgic for. I think everyone feels a kind of heavy nostalgia for what was popular at that time period, what they were doing as a kid with all that freedom. I think, though, with Halo, with how much of a cultural phenomenon Halo was from the beginning, kind of, in the way it sold Xboxes, to then the way Halo 2 in 2004 was insane, to then the way Halo 3 got everyone on Xbox Live. Like, everyone was playing these games, and now it seems like you talk to anyone who plays video games as an adult, and it's like, oh, hell yeah, I grew up on Halo. I think that might be why Halo as a franchise is so steeped in nostalgia. Or at least it feels that way, because everyone's talking about it, because kind of everyone who played and talks about video games in some way, shape, or form grew up with Halo. And I just think the specifics of the time period and the themes and style of the game all kind of snowballed together into this perfect storm of creating a franchise that people are going to be feverishly nostalgic for once they got older. And I mean, we haven't even discussed the groundbreaking nature of Halo's music. Because music can be a big driver of nostalgia as well. I think it's up there with certain smells in the way they'll just hit you and like take you to a whole nother place. Like, this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I love the smell of cigarette smoke. Because going back to my dad, he was a smoker, and after he passed, it just, once I know what brand he smoked. Not because I knew what brand, I was too young, but because I could smell it out in the world. I will smell whatever brand he smoked and just hone in on it and be like, holy shit. And it just takes me back to 2000 and whatever. It's insane the way that works. And it scares me, and I will never pick up a cigarette because it'll probably hook me pretty fast. But music can kind of do the same thing. There's plenty of songs about it, how hearing a certain song just like rips people into new times or times of the past. And Halo's music, as unique as it is, the way it fits the themes of the game, the way they use it in the game to highlight certain sections, the way there are sections without music, like, it's just all so well done. And people have said it a million times, so I'm not gonna like dig deep into it, but that's got to be a big part of nostalgia too, right? Is that anyone could hear the song and know where it came from, think back to the games, think about all these other aspects I've been talking about from the music as their launching point. It all just rolls in together. The music is probably also a big part of why. So, coming back full circle with what I talked about in the beginning of this video, because I think I had kind of an epiphany while working on this one about the way we look at our favorite games and how we assign value to them, and how our value of older games makes us think about newer games. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit as we wrap this one up. Because I do think, like in my particular case, I think any game could have had the life-changing effect that Halo Combat Evolved did on me. I could have a totally different favorite franchise if my dad had just played a different game with me when I was a kid. And so while it's like a benefit or a bonus that the Halo games and Halo Combat Evolved in particular, for me anyways, was like this crazy masterpiece, like everyone looks back on in a uniform fashion is like, oh, it was amazing, and changed the industry and pushed it all forward and all that good stuff. But this has me think of the concept of, like, you know, imagine if there's a kid out there who's now in their mid-late teens. I'm bad at math. But, like, imagine if Halo 4 was the game they played with their dad or parent or best friend or someone, anyone, and just has these really core memories of playing, or an older brother, whatever. And say that person's not around anymore. Yeah, that person's probably running around saying Halo 4 is the best game ever to them. And who am I to tell them they're wrong? And then we have all of the game reviews let's keep talking about Halo 4. There's like half the internet says Halo 4 is awful, it's bad, it's a shitty Halo game, 343 is the start of the decline, all that fun stuff. At the end of the day, what makes a game good is how it made you feel while playing it. The memories you take from it and carry with you, sometimes forever. That's what makes a video game worth playing. Not whatever the fuck Metacritic says, or whatever Angry Joe might say about it. we all get so caught up in trying to take something we like and quantify it with numbers and metrics and story outlines and critiques and all that sort of stuff. Like, you know, the joke, everybody's a critic. I think that's what we've gotten to. We're like, everyone's kind of a game critic and is overanalyzing video games while they play them, rather than having fun while they play them, especially adults, especially people who grew up with Halo, I think. And to sum up everything about like Halo and its nostalgia, and so while it's a plus that these games were certifiable masterpieces, it wasn't their quantitative qualities that make us nostalgic for them. It's what we felt while playing them, and the way those memories have lasted us into adulthood. That's what makes us nostalgic for these games. The way our minds attach the game and its music and aesthetic to the time period and to who we played those games with in that time period. Halo had all the ingredients to be the perfect mix for future nostalgia. It came out in a time when couch co-op was the norm and expected of every game that came out at the time. Then the franchise continued evolving through the Xbox Live years, where you could connect to anybody on a microphone and the games were always full of chatter. And then everyone who's in the age bracket to most likely be watching these videos, we were all kids at the time, with an endless amount of time to play these games, chug Mountain Dew, and hang out with our friends. Because now that we're all adults, we can't do that the same way we used to. And that's a big part of what we're nostalgic for too. So I don't know, thinking about all of this nostalgia has me thinking that maybe what we're nostalgic for wasn't how great the games were necessarily, but how we enjoyed them. And I want to continue exploring this concept in future videos, because I'm kind of beginning to think maybe gaming and the games themselves haven't changed, but maybe we have. Thanks for watching. Thank you.